Alright, let's talk about how I make a web page. So first, let's create a file, you can name it anything, and give it the extension .html. In this case, I create an HTML file in my desktop. HTML files look like this. So first, we surround our HTML file in HTML and also /HTML. So let's bring up the preview. Currently, my web page contains nothing. So the web page also has two other sections. One is called the head. So the head looks like this. So the information about my web page goes inside head. For example, the tab title. Let's close these. So this was on an actual browser. This tab title here would say hello. So the contents of my web page goes inside what we call the body. The body looks like this. So we could put anything we want in the body, any text, and it'll be valid HTML. For example, we could do, hello world, this is my web page. However, as you can see, it doesn't look very good. It's plain text, and there's like no formatting to it. It's a very boring, dull web page. We want to actually add some formatting or some pizzazz to the text. And how we do it is through tags. So we basically would surround the piece of text we want to format in something that looks like this. So we have the tag name and what we call the closing tag here. So let's go through some sample tags. So the first tag we're going to go through is the header tag. So the header tag makes text really, really big, like a header. As you can see, you can take a look here. Hello world is really big, and this is my web page is a normal text. And we also have H2 and H3, and each one is slightly smaller than the previous. So we can do H2 here. And H3 here. And you can see the text is so large, but it gets smaller and smaller as you go down. And this goes from H1 all the way to H6. So in the English language, and sort of in a lot of languages, we have paragraphs, blocks of text. So we have the same thing in HTML. So let's say we have a paragraph here. Another paragraph here. Well, right now it doesn't really look very good. It doesn't really look like a good paragraph. But if you're surrounded with a p tag, it puts on a new line and adds space to the top and bottom. Like this. And it works in multiple lines too. So we type something really long, like this is really. You can see that each block stands out on its own with space on the top and the bottom. So, well, we talked about normal text and making things bigger and smaller. How about fancy text like italics? Well, we could do that too. So let's say we want to make this piece of text italic. Well, we're surrounded with an I tag, like so. As you can see, the text becomes italic. Well, italics are cool, and sometimes we want bold text. So in this case, we just change it to, well, this piece of text will become bold. We'd put, instead of I, we'd put E. And the text becomes bold. Well, as you can see, most of the text we've done so far left aligns by default. What if we want to center align text? Well, so let's do some left align text here. So that's basically how the default works. If we want center align text, we need to surround it in a center tag. As you can see, the text is center aligned. As humans, we sort of like making lists. For example, instructions on how to do things. We can do that in HTML too. So let's say I have a recipe for driving a car. Well, we first make the list inside what we call order. So OL stands for ordered list. So we put a OL and another OL, closing OL right here. And for each item in the list, we do a LI, which stands for list item. So Sorry, don't need it. So as you can see, HTML automatically gives you numbers to each of the items. Well, so that's an ordered list, and that is useful when we have like a sequence of things. Sometimes we give presentations and we have like bullet points. You can do that in HTML too. Instead of doing an OL, we do the same thing, but we do UL, which stands for unordered list. So let's talk about cats here. Well, cats are animals named purr, and they make good pets. So as you can see, basically make an unordered and bulleted list right here. Well, okay, this isn't really interesting because, well, our website's not really interactive. You can click things and things don't really work. We can make links to pages. So let's say I want to link to Google. And I want to make Google a link. Well, I would do an A tag. Well, okay, this still isn't really clickable. So we have to, inside the A tag, specify the URL that we want the link to go to. So let's go to http google.com. Now this link is now like underlined, and you can click that link, and it'll go to Google. So next thing we can go through are images. So sometimes we want to add images to our website, and we can do that with HTML. So the tag to do that is img, but this is a special tag. So normally for HTML we have an opening tag and a closing tag. However, for an image is what's called self-closing tag. So there's only one tag. Inside the img, we specify where the image is located. So the URL of the image. So let's get an image of the UC Berkeley Camping Lily. Oops. And we can specify how big we want the image with width. So either width or height. So we can have either the width be 500 pixels, or we can specify maybe that we want the height to be in a fixed height. It's up to you if you want to specify width or height. Just one of them needs to be specified so you get the correct size on a web page. Well, sometimes we want text and blocks of text to be separated, and the most intuitive way is to do it with the horizontal line. A horizontal line looks like this. And as you can see, this line isn't really solid. We can make this line solid by adding this piece of text. And we're not going to go through what this means, but as long as you put this piece of text inside your HR tag, you will have a solid line. Sometimes you don't want solid lines, we just want empty lines. We can do that too with HTML. Instead of HR, we'll just do BR. As you can see, we get a bunch of empty lines. Well, so this is nice and good, but the text still looks boring. We can add what we call CSS, or styles, to our web page. A style looks like this. We add a style portion to our head. So we will basically put the tag name that we want to style, or we want to add properties or rules to. In this case, we could do the h1 tag. And we also use these curly braces. So everything that we want to add to an h1 tag goes inside here. And here's some sample rules or sort of properties or styles we can add to each of these tags. The first is background color. So we can add a background color to each h1 element. And we specify colors in what's called hex format. And there's a list of colors online that you can look at. So as you can see, when added background color is equal to this random color, the background color of each of the h1 tags changes. We can also change the font color. So we could change it to, say, white. And I know for a fact that's FFF. As you can see, the font color for each of h1 tags changed. We can do the font family. So we can change the font of each of the tags. And Each browser understands sort of a list of fonts, and one of the fonts on that list is Comic Sans, surprisingly. How we do that is you do font-family and then the name of the font in quotations. Sometimes the spacing inside the tag is really small, as you can see. We can sort of make things a bit more spaced out with what we call padding. And you can see what it does here. It adds a frame of 20 pixels around. We also change the font size of an H1 tag. So we do font-size and give it the size in pixels. We can make it really small or really large. The final thing we can change is the line height. So that's how high each line is. We can make text really, really spaced out, like so. In terms of more fonts, you can go to W3 Schools for a list of web-safe fonts. And for colors, you can also go and find Color Picker on W3 Schools, which will give you hex values for some common colors. So, removing this, we also notice that our web page seems to be really wide. So as we resize our browser window, it just gets bigger and bigger. We can constrain our web page to be a bit more narrow by adding this. And of course, we would add this. Of course, it seems complex at the moment, and you don't even know what this does. But as long as you put this div tag and this other div tag that looks like this, your web page will sort of be constrained to a certain width. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on HTML and CSS.